All right, let's move on to our next topic. The Last of Us is there's rumors that Sony is going to remake this game. How do you feel about that?
So Zach told me about it. We've had Zach on the show.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big Last of Us fan, and initially, I think I was at work when he texted me. I was very just kind of like meh about it, and the reason why is because that game looked amazing on the PS3,
Mm-hmm.
and it also looked amazing on the PS4.
Right.
And I don't know if it really needs to look amazing again for a third time on the PS5. And that was kind of my initial reaction. I gave it some time to think about it more because initially Zach was like, "Oh, come on, dude! Like, it's going to look amazing. It's going to look like The Last of Us 2."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? You've got a good point because The Last of Us 2 does look remarkably better than the initial even remaster
Mm-hmm.
of 1. Um, but I just don't know if it's that paramount right now to make it. I think if it comes out, it'll be received well. I just don't know if it's something that I would certainly not pay full price for. If it
Right.
came out at 60, I'd be like, no, I'm just gonna wait for this to drop down to 20, if that, pick it up and experience it again because I do want to play the first game again,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be nice to play it on the PS5, but I need to see more details. Is this going to be a remaster, a full remake from the ground up? That might change my mind,
Mm-hmm.
but right now I'm not too excited about it.
Yeah, I think more information would need to come out.
Yeah.
I kind of got the impression from what I had read that it was more than a remaster. It was more of a remake, which I think concerns me because the first game, while dated, is kind of a masterpiece.
It absolutely is.
And when you start remaking things, you can ruin that, tarnish that legacy.
Hmm.
You know,
I couldn't agree with you more about that. I think
um,
that's absolutely it. You're tinkering with something that's very special.
very special, very precious to a lot of people. And Epic Outro just said in the chat room, I will buy it because I would love to have a chance to spend more time in that world. Uh, but what if they fuck it up? I think that really is my question. Like, first of all, is Naughty Dog going to do this, or are they going to be working on The Last of Us 3 or Uncharted 16 or whatever?
That's
Um,
just it.
or are they willing to revisit a game that they made, 8 years ago to try to make it from the ground up and make it a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're now living in a gaming world where as soon as the word remake is used, everybody gets worried. And they get worried for good reason because there's a big difference now
Mm-hmm.
in a remaster and a remake. And, Final Fantasy VII is a good example. A lot of people didn't like it, a lot of people loved it. But again, you're tampering with something that is literally a masterpiece. So I
Mm-hmm.
really hope that if they make a full remake, likely would it be the same team? I don't know. Probably not, because like you said, I think they're going to be focused on the next Uncharted, the
Mm.
next IP, or the next Last of Us, which is what they should be focused on. So what I think will happen is they're going to use a similar approach as what they did with the Last of Us, the Lost Legacy,
Okay.
where they used like a separate team in Naughty Dog to make that game. And did it look as good as the other ones? Yes. Did it play as the other ones? Yes. But or play as well. It did, but with this one, I don't know, man.
Mm.
Ultimately, more details are needed. It's too early to say too much at this point.
Would you rather have them focus on something new entirely, whether it's a sequel to The Last of Us or just a completely new IP? Or would you
That's a,
rather have them remaster or remake the first game?
I think it's a really good question, and I think it's something that's going to be coming across people's minds, for the next week or so, especially if more news comes out on this. I
Mm.
think it would be great to see another Uncharted or another familiar game from the studio, like Last of Us 3. But at the same time, it would be cool to see a totally new IP. So
Mm.
um, I think that if they can somehow manage to do both, which they probably could, then I'm game for both. Give us the remake of this, and then also give us something new.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if I really had a final say in this, I'd rather have them put their full attention on something new.
Right. I would too. I think I'm I'm really not on board with all these remasters. Even Mass Effect, which is getting a remaster, is one of my favorite games ever. Um, I wish they would just make new Mass Effect instead of like just remastering the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I feel the same
Mm-hmm.
way about movies too. Like, stop revisiting the old, like stop rebooting Superman, just as an example. You know,
I
or
know,
stop
man. I
stop
know.
like just come up with something different. Come up with something new.
It's hard to ignore that. And even Lauren said something to me recently, and she's not even a big movie person, but
Mm,
even she knew. She was like, honey, they just don't make anything new anymore.
they
And
don't.
I was like, you're right. They really don't. And that's why movies like Tenet and, the likes of Chris Nolan and the occasional original film that comes out, it's a blessing because you're like, oh, thank God, this
Mm,
is something freshly original. But
right.
it's more of a rarity these days, unfortunately.
Yeah.